Students, welcome back to another lecture on Historia. In today's lecture, we will discuss about the economy, society, art and architecture, and also about Ashoka Dhamma. So this will be the last lecture with regard to the Mauryan Empire. Under the economy, we will discuss about the economic condition of the Mauryan Empire. Agriculture was the backbone of the Mauryan economy. Aside from that, trade was also becoming important during this period of time. So under agriculture, it is the main occupation of the people. It is the primary source of their livelihood, and it was also their main source of revenue. And agriculture was placed second in the Megasthenes list of professions. So Megasthenes has divided the society into 7 categories, and agriculture was placed in the second list. So all the lands in the Mauryan kingdom belonged to the king, and the lands which are particularly under the control of the king is known as the Sita land. So aside from this Sita land, the king also allowed land to be owned by small landlords in exchange for tax. So in the village, the land is owned by the entire community. So aside from this, state also took initiative for the promotion of agriculture. The first one is reclamation of land for agriculture. So large tract of land was reclaimed for agricultural use. And the next one is construction of Sudarsana Lake by Chandragupta I for irrigational purpose. So aside from this, the moneylenders also help in the growth of agriculture by advancing loans to farmers. So next is animal husbandry. Alongside agriculture, animal husbandry became a source of livelihood, and it also supplied food to the empire. Lands which are not fit for cultivations were allotted for grazing, and the shepherds mostly belong to the Aryan race, but under the Varna system, they are considered as Shudras. So animal husbandry was a very lucrative profession. So as a result, even the state, the governments, and also the rich people, they also rear cattle, and their cattle reared by them are the cows, buffaloes, goats, and sheep. And Megasthenes placed animal husbandry in the 3rd place in his list of professional class. Craft and industry. Another vital part of Maurya's economy was its industries. Megasthenes assigned artisans and craftsmen 4th place in his list of professions. Artisans were important to the state, especially with regard to making of weapons and shipbuildings. The state also provided work and also protection to the artisans. And the rules for artisans and craftsmen were laid down in Kautilya's book Arthashastra, wherein they could work independently or organize themselves into guilds. And there are 3 features with regard to this class. There are the localization of vocations, hereditary professions, and working of artisans under the chief. So the first one is concentration of profession in a particular place, and hereditary profession means wherein the son was to inherit his father's profession. Example, if a father is a blacksmith, then his son was also to be a blacksmith too. Lastly, working of artisans under the chief. It means that the students and intern learning a particular skills while working for the chief. So aside from this, slaves were also employed to increase the production, and goods that were manufactured includes arms, agriculture implements, ship, etc. Guilds or shrenis. Guilds or shrenis means groups or association usually formed by traders. So during the Mauryan time, as discussed, craftsmen were allowed to work independently or organize themselves into guilds, and of these two, the craftsmen prefer to work as guilds. Some example of guilds are weavers, braziers, oil millers, bamboo workers, corn dealers, ivory workers. So these people organize themselves into guilds because it gives them economic and political power. So goods that were produced were sold under the supervision of the government officers. Apart from that, a tax of 10% was charged on those goods which were sold, and loans were also advanced by money lenders, and an interest rate of 15% was charged. So the use of currency began during the earlier period, during the time of the Mahajanapadas, but it became more prominent during the Mauryan period. So the coins of the Mauryan bear the figures of sun, moon, mountain, trees, plants, cattle, human beings, and other symbols. Society. So Megasthenes mentioned that people live a moral life, and at the same time they also love truths, and theft was also rare, so people do not put locks on the door. So all of this was a result of Ashoka's Dhamma, because in the Ashoka's Dhamma it talks about love, it talks about respect, tolerance, peace, and harmony. So because of this, the people during the time of Ashoka, they live a good life. At the same time, the standard of living of the people was high, even the status of women was high. However, even though the status of women was high, in the aristocratic class, that is in the higher classes, polygamy was prevalent. Polygamy is where a man has 2 or 3 wives. And again, Megasthenes has divided the Indian population into 7 parts. They are the philosopher, husbandsman, herdsman, artisans and traders, soldiers, overseers, and counselors. So we have discussed about husbandmen, herdsmen, artisans, and traders under economy. So next is Brahmins and lower class. So under Brahmins, Megasthenes mentioned that the Brahmins, even though they were less in number, they enjoy a high status in the society. For example, Kautilya himself is a Brahmin and he was the Mahamantri in the state administration. He is the prime minister of Chandragupta Maurya. So the main duties of Brahmins are to perform religious rites, ceremonies, and astrology. Apart from this, there are certain professions which are considered as lower class. For example, there are the potters, weavers, barbers, dancers, butchers, executioners, keeper of cremation grounds, acrobats, bazigars, beggars, and snake charmers. So all of these profession, the people who practice this profession, they are considered as lower class. Art and literature. So first we'll discuss about literature and education. Scholars believe that literacy was widespread during the time of the Mauryas because Ashoka has issued a large number of major and minor rock edicts. So scholars assume that the people might know how to read and write because if the people does not know how to read and write, then Ashoka might not have issued a large number of edicts. And literature, philosophy, and sciences was taught in the Taxila University, whereas vocational education was given by the guilds. For the languages spoken, it is Pali, Prakrit, and Ardhamari language. And with regard to literature, Arthashastra was written in Sanskrit, whereas for the Buddhist literature, it is written in Prakrit. And for Ashoka's edict, it is mainly issued in Prakrit language, but in the south it is issued in Brahmi, and in the Gandhar region it is in Kharosthi. And this Brahmin and Kharosthi script are those two scripts which was deciphered by James Prinsett. Art and architecture. So Ashoka was the first king to use stone for buildings. Before Ashoka, the monuments were mostly made of woods. And the use of stone for building started only during his time. He constructed stone pillars crowned with lion figures, elephant figures, and bull figures, etc. Aside from this, the Mauryan arts also includes building of boats, ships, and chariots, and also making of elephant toys and medals for the children. Ashoka's Dhamma or Dharma. Dhamma is a Prakrit word derived from the Sanskrit word dharma. Dharma means religious duty. But Ashoka's Dhamma is not a new religion or a new political philosophy. It did not involve the worship of God or performing of sacrifices, but it is a way of life, a code of conduct, a set of principles that is to be followed and adopted by all the people. So why Ashoka adopted Dhamma is because of two reasons. One is diverse religious group and heterogeneous strength. So during his time there were a number of religions that was involved, such as the Brahmanism, such as the Buddhism, such as the Jainism, and also the Ajivikas, and even the people belonged to different race. So in order to maintain unity within his empire, he introduced Dhamma, that is a code of conduct, a conduct of kindness, benevolence, tolerance, and also charity. So this Dhamma was to be followed by all the people, no matter what religion they profess or which race they belong to. So these are some of the principles of Ashoka's Dhamma. Number one is that people should live in peace and harmony. Number two, people should practice ahimsa, that is non-violence, non-injury to all living beings. Number three is that people should love one another and display respect and tolerance towards each other's faith. Four is that children should obey their elders and elders should treat children with understanding. And people should be truthful, charitable, and kind to all, even towards servant and slave. So that is the end for today's lecture. Like, subscribe, and also share with your friends.